Listen carefully. Most people think their financial problem is income. It is not. Income matters, yes. Skill matters, yes. Opportunity matters, yes. But the deeper problem for millions of people is much uglier than that, and because it is uglier, almost nobody wants to look at it directly. Your money has no orders. That is the truth. Every dollar that enters your life shows up like a confused employee walking into a building with no manager, no department head, no written process, no chain of command, and no mission. It wanders, it disappears, it gets claimed by noise, it gets dragged into impulses, it gets swallowed by convenience, ego, subscriptions, small comforts, avoidable debt, and purchases you barely remember 30 days later. Then at the end of the month, you do what almost everybody does. You stare at the remains. You tell yourself you need to be more disciplined. You tell yourself next month will be different. You tell yourself you just had unusual expenses. You tell yourself life is expensive. You tell yourself inflation is killing you. You tell yourself you deserve to enjoy something. You tell yourself you are trying your best. Maybe you are, but your best is not organized. And disorganized effort is one of the fastest ways to stay financially weak for the rest of your life, because money does not reward hope. Money rewards systems. That is the part people hate. They want a trick, they want a hot stock, they want a perfect side hustle, they want a secret the rich know, they want a magical account, they want one app, one book, one guru, one breakthrough idea that transforms everything while leaving their habits untouched. That is fantasy. Wealth is rarely built by magic. It is usually built by command structure. A salary without structure turns into stress. A raise without structure turns into lifestyle inflation. A bonus without structure turns into regret. And even intelligence without structure turns into financial self-sabotage. You do not need to be a genius to become financially solid. You need a system that gives every dollar a job before life steals it from you. If you understand that, really understand it, then this script can change the way you handle money forever. Not because I'm going to sell you a fantasy. Not because I'm going to tell you to manifest abundance. Not because I'm going to pretend this is easy. This is not easy. But it is simple. And simple, repeated long enough, becomes powerful. So today I'm going to show you why people with decent incomes still stay stuck, why budgeting usually fails, why motivation burns out, why saving randomly is a losing strategy, and what to do instead if you want your financial life to stop feeling like a leaking bucket. I'm going to give you a system, a real one, a boring one, a powerful one, and if you follow it, you will stop asking where your money went and start telling your money where to go. That shift sounds small. It is not small. It is the dividing line between living under your money and commanding it. Before we go further, understand this clearly. If you are waiting for financial confidence to arrive before you build structure, you are doing it backward. Confidence comes after control, not before it. People think they need to feel powerful to act decisively. Usually they need to act decisively first so they can finally feel powerful. That is how this works. Now let's start with the real disease. The real disease is not low income. The real disease is unassigned money. Unassigned money is dangerous because human beings are emotional creatures living in engineered environments. Everything around you is designed to capture your attention, justify your spending, and make immediate consumption feel normal. The default system of modern life is not built to make you wealthy. It is built to make you easy to bill. Every app wants a monthly fee. Every platform wants your impulse. Every store wants you slightly dissatisfied. Every advertisement wants to turn identity into spending. Every convenience has a cost attached to it. Every emotional dip in your day has a product waiting beside it. Hungry, buy something. Tired, buy something. Bored, buy something. Lonely, buy something. Stressed, buy something. Celebrating, buy something. Depressed, buy something. Got paid, buy something. That is not an accident. That is an ecosystem. And if you walk into that ecosystem without a money system of your own, you do not have freedom. You have exposure. That is why people earning more are not automatically safer. In many cases, they are simply exposed at a higher level. Bigger income, bigger apartment, bigger income, bigger car payment, bigger income, bigger restaurant budget, bigger income, bigger vacations they post online and quietly finance with future stress. Bigger income, bigger excuses. Bigger income, same chaos. The outside improves, the inside stays fragile. This is why some people making modest incomes quietly build stability, while others making 2 or 3 times more remain one disruption away from panic. The difference is not always intelligence. It is command. Money needs command, and command begins before the paycheck lands. That is where most people fail. They make decisions after the money arrives, when temptation is already in the room, when fatigue is already high, when mood is unstable, when the month is already moving, when they are negotiating with themselves instead of following a predetermined structure. That is too late. You do not build order in the middle of temptation. You build order before temptation arrives. That is how serious operators live in every field. Pilots use checklists before takeoff. Surgeons use protocols before surgery. Great organizations build processes before pressure hits. They do not wait until chaos arrives and then ask everyone to improvise emotionally. Yet people do exactly that with money every single month. They get paid and improvise. That is why they lose. Not because they are cursed, because they are improvising in a system designed to defeat improvisation. Now let me show you the first principle that matters more than any budgeting app, any spreadsheet, or any motivational video. A dollar without a destination will always find one, and usually it will not be a good one. It will drift to convenience. It will drift to appetite. It will drift to image. It will drift to whatever emotion was loudest that day. That is why the first job of a serious financial system is not tracking. It is assignment. Assignment is more important than awareness. People love awareness because awareness feels productive without being painful. They track expenses, color code categories, look at charts, talk about where they overspent, and feel intelligent because they are observing their behavior. Observation is not control. Assignment is control. You can know exactly where your money went and still stay broke forever. That is not victory. Victory is deciding where your money goes in advance and making your accounts obey that plan. That is adult finance. That is real finance. Not endless reflection, not emotional postmortems, not monthly surprise command. So here is the framework. Every dollar that enters your life must be divided into 4 missions before you touch it. Mission 1, survival. Mission 2, stability. Mission 3, ownership. Mission 4, freedom. If you do not separate these, your financial life stays muddy, and muddy systems create weak decisions. Let's go through them carefully. Mission 1, survival. This is your essential operating cost. Shelter, utilities, food, insurance, transportation required for work, minimum debt obligations, basic life maintenance. Notice the word basic, not upgraded, not optimized for status, not chosen for appearance, basic. Survival is what keeps your life functional, not impressive. That distinction matters because most people quietly smuggle luxury into the category of necessity. They inflate needs until needs consume almost everything. Then they say there is nothing left to save. Of course there is nothing left to save. You called your wants requirements. That lie is financially lethal. A serious person tells the truth about survival. Survival is not the latte, it is groceries. Survival is not the premium trim, it is transportation. Survival is not the luxury building, it is shelter. Survival is not 5 streaming services, it is internet access if required for work and life. Survival is not image management, it is keeping the lights on. You cannot fix a financial life until you stop decorating necessity with ego. Now mission 2, stability. This is where most people are dangerously underbuilt. Stability is your buffer against life, emergency savings, repair funds, insurance gaps, cash reserves for the predictable unpredictability of being alive. Read that again, predictable unpredictability. Life is not random enough to be shocking. Things break, tires go bad, laptops fail, medical bills arrive, jobs shift, families need help, rent changes, travel emergencies happen, homes leak, economies wobble. Unexpected is expected. If your system has no stability layer, every inconvenience becomes a crisis, and every crisis gets financed by debt. That is how people drown slowly while telling themselves it is temporary. The absence of stability forces expensive decisions. You cannot negotiate well when you are desperate. You cannot invest well when you are panicked. You cannot sleep well when one surprise can break you. Stability is not exciting, but it is power. Emergency cash is not lazy money, it is optionality, it is dignity, it is the ability to say, this is a problem, but it is not an emergency. That sentence alone is worth more than many people understand. Mission 3, ownership. Now we move from defense to offense. Ownership means buying assets, not symbols, not appearances, not the temporary sensation of reward. Assets. This is where wealth begins. Ownership is where part of your labor stops dying the month you earn it and starts working on your behalf. This can mean retirement accounts, broad market index funds, tax-advantaged accounts, cash-flowing businesses, skills that increase future earning power, productive investments, systems that compound. Ownership is the part of your money that hires employees you never meet. Those employees are called assets. They work nights, they work weekends, they work while you are sick, they work while you are asleep, they work while you are on vacation, they work while you are distracted, they work while you are aging. That is the power of assets. A person who spends everything works alone forever. A person who builds ownership recruits capital to join the job. That is the game. Mission 4, freedom. This is not the same as pleasure, and confusing those two ideas ruins people. Pleasure is immediate. Freedom is strategic. Pleasure says, I want this now. Freedom says, I want my future to belong to me. Freedom money goes toward reducing dependence. It may mean eliminating high-interest debt. It may mean building enough invested capital to lower career desperation. It may mean creating runway so you can leave bad work, say no to abuse, recover from burnout, or relocate without imploding. Freedom is not indulgence. Freedom is leverage over your future. And when your money starts funding freedom, your psychology changes. You stop feeling hunted by every bill. You stop feeling trapped by every employer. You stop feeling humiliated by every unexpected cost. You start moving differently because you are no longer living at the edge of financial cliffs. These 4 missions must exist in your system at all times. Survival, stability, ownership, freedom. Now the numbers. People always want the numbers. Good. Let's talk numbers. I am not going to insult you with a magical universal ratio that fits every life perfectly, but I am going to give you a disciplined default model that works because it forces reality into structure. Start here. Cover survival first. Then build stability until you have at least 1 month of essential expenses set aside. Then direct a non-negotiable percentage into ownership every single pay cycle. Then attack freedom with whatever remains after those priorities are funded. For many people, the most realistic starting point is this. Protect the floor, build the buffer, automate the ownership, then improve the margin. That order matters. People reverse it all the time. They try to invest aggressively with no emergency cushion. Then a crisis arrives and they liquidate at the worst time or pile on to debt. They try to enjoy luxuries with no stability. Then they call it self-care while financing anxiety. They wait to invest until life is calmer. Life does not become calm by accident. Structure creates calm. So here is a practical money command model. The day income arrives, it gets split automatically. A percentage to bills, a percentage to emergency cash until the emergency fund target is reached, a percentage to investment accounts, a percentage to debt elimination if high interest debt exists, a small controlled percentage to discretionary life so you do not turn the system into a punishment chamber and rebel against it. That last point matters. Extreme systems often fail because they are built on fantasy. People create financial plans for an imaginary version of themselves, a superhuman creature with no fatigue, no social life, no cravings, no emotional dips, and no desire for joy. That creature does not exist. Then the real person shows up, breaks the plan, and concludes they lack discipline. No, they lacked realism. A durable system must be strict enough to create progress and realistic enough to survive human life. That is why I do not want you pretending you will never spend on enjoyment again. That usually ends in collapse. What I want is containment, deliberate containment. You are not trying to eliminate humanity. You are trying to eliminate drift. There is a difference. Now let's talk about the biggest lie middle-income earners tell themselves. The lie is this: I'll get serious when I make more. No, you won't. If you cannot command a small system, you will not magically command a larger one. You will simply make larger mistakes with more expensive consequences. Money amplifies behavior before it improves character. A raise does not fix disorder. It finances it. That is why people feel rich for 3 months after earning more and then somehow feel poor again. The standard of living expands to consume the increase. The relief disappears. The stress returns wearing nicer clothes. This is one of the most dangerous patterns in modern personal finance because it feels like progress while producing dependency. You move up in visible lifestyle while staying flat in invisible strength. Visible lifestyle impresses strangers. Invisible strength protects your future. Choose carefully. If your income rises, your ownership rate should rise. If your income rises, your stability should deepen. If your income rises, your freedom timeline should shorten. If your income rises and only your spending rises, then your raise was not a breakthrough. It was a missed opportunity. Now, I want to address budgeting because a lot of people have been taught to hate it. They say budgeting is restrictive. They say budgeting feels like punishment. They say budgeting makes them anxious. They say budgeting ruins spontaneity. No, Bad budgeting ruins spontaneity, weak budgeting ruins motivation, punitive budgeting creates rebellion, but real budgeting is not punishment, it is pre-decision, and pre-decision is one of the most powerful forces in adult life. Every important domain improves when you make fewer emotional decisions in real time. Health improves when meals are planned. Productivity improves when priorities are defined before the day begins. Training improves when workouts are scheduled instead of negotiated. Relationships improve when values are discussed before conflict. Money improves when allocation is predetermined before the paycheck arrives. The goal is not to think about money more. The goal is to think about it once, clearly, and then let systems carry the burden. That is why automation beats motivation. Motivation is moody. Automation is loyal. Motivation depends on sleep, stress, weather, ego, comparison, and whether your day was kind to you. Automation does not care. Automation executes. Automation transfers. Automation invests. Automation builds. Automation protects you from the weaker version of yourself. And everybody has a weaker version. Serious people build systems for that person, not just for their ideal self. So if you remember one sentence from this script, remember this. Do not trust your future to the emotional version of you that shows up after a long day. That person is tired. That person is vulnerable to convenience. That person will justify. That person will say tomorrow. That person will click buy now. That person needs guardrails, so build them. Now let's go deeper into the enemy of financial progress. Friction in good behavior and ease in bad behavior. If investing requires 6 decisions, 3 passwords, 2 moments of courage, and 1 active choice every month, many people will fail. Not because they are stupid, because the path is too dependent on manual virtue. If spending requires 1 thumb movement, then guess which behavior dominates? The environment wins. That means your financial system should reverse the friction. Make spending slightly harder. Make investing embarrassingly easy. Make saving automatic. Make debt payments pre-planned. Make discretionary purchases wait. Make access to temptation slower. This sounds too simple, but simplicity is what works at scale. Use separate accounts, name them clearly, automate transfers, create a holding period for non-essential purchases. Do not keep all your available cash sitting in the same account where impulses happen. Structure matters, distance matters, naming matters, timing matters. The fewer decisions required to do the right thing, the more likely you are to do it consistently enough for compounding to reward you. Now we need to talk about debt, because no conversation about money command is honest if it dances around interest. Interest can be your employee or your predator. When you own productive assets, compounding can work in your favor. When you carry high-interest consumer debt, compounding works like a slow executioner. People underestimate this because the monthly minimum looks survivable. That is how the trap works. A trap does not need to look violent on day one. It just needs to look manageable long enough. High-interest debt steals tomorrow's labor before tomorrow arrives. It converts your future time into present consumption, and then adds a fee for the privilege. That is why I want you to stop calling it normal. A culture may normalize debt. That does not make it healthy. A peer group may normalize debt. That does not make it wise. An industry may depend on debt. That does not make it your friend. Debt used intelligently for productive leverage is one thing. Debt used to manufacture a lifestyle you have not earned is a different creature entirely. One builds optionality. The other builds obligation. Learn the difference or pay for the confusion. If you are carrying expensive consumer debt, freedom starts there. Not because debt is morally dirty, because interest is mathematically ruthless. A guaranteed negative compounding force deserves urgent attention. This does not mean you ignore emergency cash completely. That is another mistake. Some people throw every dollar at debt while staying one flat tire away from reusing the same card again. That is not solving the problem. That is moving in circles. So the sequence is this. Build a small emergency floor first, then attack high-interest debt aggressively, then expand the emergency reserve, then scale ownership. This is not sexy advice. Good. Sexy advice ruins people. I want advice that survives contact with reality. Now let me confront another issue people avoid because it bruises identity. Status spending. Status spending is one of the most expensive forms of emotional confusion in adult life. People buy the feeling of being ahead long before they are actually ahead. They buy the car that tells a story. They buy the apartment that tells a story. They buy the clothes that tell a story. They buy the vacation that tells a story. They buy the phone, the dinners, the upgrades, the image accessories, the polished online identity that says, "Look at me, I am doing well." Maybe they are. Maybe they are not. But many are financing applause with delayed pain. That is a terrible trade, because status spending does not just cost money, it costs flexibility. The expensive car is not just a payment, it is reduced room to maneuver. The inflated rent is not just a nicer building, it is a longer dependence chain. The image-driven lifestyle is not just consumption, it is future pressure. And pressure changes people. Pressure keeps them in jobs they hate. Pressure makes them tolerate environments that shrink them. Pressure turns ambition into survival mode. Pressure steals negotiating power. Pressure steals peace. That is why the most underrated flex in the world is margin. Not image, margin. Extra cash, low fixed costs, rising ownership, minimal financial drama, the ability to breathe, the ability to say no, the ability to walk away. That is wealth beginning in the nervous system before it ever appears in the portfolio. And if you do not understand that, you will chase symbols while missing substance. Now let's talk about ownership in a more practical way, because this is where many people become either intimidated or distracted. Ownership is not about becoming a market genius. It is not about predicting every macro shift. It is not about finding the next miracle stock before everyone else. It is about consistently redirecting a meaningful portion of your earned income into productive assets over a long period of time. That is the foundation. The average person destroys their own future by making ownership feel too complicated to begin. They think if they do not understand every line of a financial statement, every central bank speech, every sector rotation, every valuation method, then they should wait. No, waiting is expensive. Inaction is not neutral. Years matter. Decades matter. Even modest contributions, if consistent and protected from interruption, can change the entire shape of a person's later life. The power is not always in brilliance. The power is often in uninterrupted duration. That is why the first level of ownership should be simple enough to sustain: broad, diversified investments, tax-efficient accounts where available, automated recurring contributions, low-friction execution, minimal ego involvement. The job of the first ownership system is not to entertain you, it is to capture time. Time is the multiplier. People obsess over return and ignore consistency. They chase an extra few percentage points while losing years to indecision. That is like searching for the perfect gym while your body gets weaker every month you wait. The perfect plan delayed is usually worse than the good plan started. Begin, then improve. Do not reverse the order. Now let's talk about why people quit good systems. They quit because the system stops feeling exciting. That is normal. The early phase of financial repair is emotionally dramatic. You notice cuts, you feel sacrifice, you celebrate wins, the system feels active. Then after a while the work becomes repetitive. Transfers happen, contributions go out, debt declines slowly, cash reserves build gradually, nothing cinematic is happening. That is the exact moment people become vulnerable. They mistake boredom for failure. They mistake routine for stagnation. They mistake the absence of drama for the absence of progress. That is a psychological error. Mature wealth building is repetitive on purpose. Repetition is not the enemy. Repetition is the vehicle. If you need constant excitement from your money will often leave you. Capital likes calm operators. And this brings me to a brutal truth. Many people do not actually want wealth as much as they want the emotional theater associated with money. They want the rush of risk. They want the identity of being in the game. They want the conversation. They want the screenshot. They want the possibility of a leap more than the discipline of a climb. That desire empties a lot of wallets. A serious financial life is less theatrical than people think. It is more procedural. It is more repetitive. It is more delayed. It is more structured. It is more mature. And that maturity pays. Now let's build the actual operating system I want you to use. Here it is. Step 1. Define your essential monthly survival cost, not your current spending. Your essential survival cost. These are not the same number. Many people have no idea what it actually costs to keep their life functioning at a basic level because they have mixed necessity, convenience, pleasure, and leakage into one giant blur. That blur keeps them weak. Separate the essentials: housing, utilities, food, transportation, insurance, minimum obligations, basic communication, necessary healthcare. That is your survival number. You need to know it cold, because that number tells you what 1 month of stability actually means. It tells you what 3 months means. It tells you what freedom runway requires. It tells you what job loss risk really looks like. It gives reality edges. Step 2, create a 1 month stability target, not perfect, not ultimate, just 1 month of essential expenses. Why 1 month first? Because first milestones matter. A distant goal with no intermediate checkpoint often fails psychologically. 1 month changes your nervous system. 1 month means a job delay is not instant panic. 1 month means a car repair does not automatically become debt. 1 month means breathing room, then expand from there. Step 3. Automate ownership immediately, even if the amount is smaller than your ego prefers. This matters. People delay investing because they want to start with a number that feels significant. That is vanity disguised as prudence. Start with what is sustainable. Consistency first, scale later. A smaller automatic contribution beats a larger fantasy contribution that gets paused every few months. Step 4, build a debt strategy with sequence, not emotion. List balances, list interest rates, list minimums, choose the attack path, then execute without reinventing the plan every payday. Do not make debt reduction a mood, make it a protocol. Step 5, set a discretionary ceiling. Not because joy is illegal, because drift is expensive. A ceiling forces honesty. It tells your impulses where the fence is. It allows enjoyment without pretending enjoyment has no cost. Boundaries protect progress. Step 6, create a 72-hour rule for non-essential purchases above a threshold you choose. Maybe that threshold is $50, maybe it is $100, maybe more, depending on income. The exact number matters less than the pause. The pause interrupts emotional spending. It reveals how many desires are temporary. It gives logic time to catch up with appetite. Step 7. Raise your ownership percentage when income rises. This is how you break the lifestyle inflation cycle. Every raise should have a pre-assigned destination before it reaches your checking account. If not, your standard of living will swallow it by default. Step 8. Review the system monthly, but do not emotionally rewrite it monthly. Review for accuracy, adjust for real life, but do not rebuild everything because 1 week was messy or one expense annoyed you. A system needs repetition to reveal whether it works. Constant tinkering is often disguised avoidance. Now I want to address the people who feel behind. You are 30 and feel late. You are 35 and feel embarrassed. You are 40 and feel guilty. You are older and feel like the damage is already done. Listen to me carefully. Shame is expensive. Shame freezes action. Shame makes people avoid the numbers. Shame makes people delay the call, the account opening, the budget review, the debt plan, the conversation with a spouse, the cancellation of nonsense, the first transfer, the first serious month. Shame does not protect you. It drains you. You do not need more shame, you need motion. The math may not be as beautiful as it would have been 10 years earlier. Fine. That is reality. Start with reality. But late and disciplined beats later and regretful every time. People destroy years mourning the lost years. That is a second loss on top of the first. Stop volunteering for it. If you are behind, then structure matters even more. Because when time is more precious, leakage becomes more expensive. You do not need drama, you need alignment. And if you are young, do not waste the advantage of time because you think small amounts do not matter. Small amounts matter when repeated. The person who learns money command early is not just gaining dollars, they are gaining identity. They become the kind of person who builds. That identity compounds too. Now let's talk about households because money chaos multiplies when multiple people are involved and no one wants the discomfort of clarity. If you share money with a spouse or partner, ambiguity becomes a tax. Unspoken assumptions become resentment. Different definitions of necessity become conflict. Different time horizons become tension. Different spending values become ongoing leaks. The solution is not romance, it is structure, shared goals, shared numbers, shared rules, shared review rhythm. Not because love is cold, because reality is demanding. Financial peace inside a household rarely comes from good intentions alone. It comes from agreed systems. Who pays what? What counts as essential? What requires discussion? What gets automated? What the emergency target is? What ownership rate matters? What freedom means? These are not small questions. They shape the emotional climate of the household. People avoid them because they are uncomfortable. Good. Important things are often uncomfortable before they become liberating. Now I want to show you the hidden reward of money command that almost nobody talks about. The reward is not just more net worth, the reward is cleaner thinking. When your finances are chaotic, they occupy mental bandwidth all day long. Every decision carries background static. Every purchase has a whisper behind it. Every unexpected email creates tension. Every invitation becomes a calculation. Every career choice is filtered through financial fragility. Even rest becomes harder because uncertainty follows you into the evening. But when your money has orders, mental noise drops. You know your bills are handled. You know savings is happening. You know investing is happening. You know debt is declining. You know your system is imperfect but real. That knowledge changes your posture toward life. You become less reactive, less desperate, less easily manipulated. That is the beginning of financial adulthood. And adulthood, in this context, means not that you never make mistakes, but that your money no longer moves faster than your values. Now let me deal with one more dangerous belief. Some people think once they build a system, they can relax their awareness forever. No, systems need maintenance, not obsession, maintenance. Your life changes, income changes, expenses change, goals change, family obligations change, risk changes, so do not create a system and worship it forever. Create it, run it, review it, and refine it. But refinement is different from emotional inconsistency. Refinement is deliberate. Inconsistency is impulsive. Know the difference. A strong system evolves as your life evolves, but it keeps its core logic: survival protected, stability funded, ownership automated, freedom expanded. If those four missions are alive, your financial life is moving in the right direction. Now let's talk about the winner and loser split, because whether people like that language or not, life eventually forces a result. The winner is not the person with the flashiest income. The winner is the one who builds repeatable control. The winner is the one who knows their survival number. The winner is the one who builds the first month of cushion. The winner is the one who automates ownership before temptation gets a vote. The winner is the one who stops confusing image with strength. The winner is the one who makes raises increase assets, not just appearances. The winner is the one who can survive surprise without immediate panic. The winner is the one who buys freedom in increments. The loser is not necessarily the person earning less. The loser is the one who keeps drifting. The loser is the one who keeps improvising. The loser is the one who keeps calling leakage normal. The loser is the one who keeps spending future peace to fund present emotion. The loser is the one who wants a dramatic breakthrough more than a durable system. The loser is the one who hears truth, feels briefly motivated, and changes nothing by Friday. Do not misunderstand me. This is not about moral superiority. This is about outcomes. Money is not fair and life is not always fair. But disorganization has predictable consequences, and too many people want sympathy from math. Math does not hate you, it just does not negotiate with delusion. If you spend what should have been invested, the future changes. If you finance what should have been delayed, the future changes. If you automate ownership, the future changes. If you build stability, the future changes. If you reduce fixed costs, the future changes. If you stop drifting, the future changes. That is why this matters. Your financial life is not one giant decision. It is 1,000 repeated votes. What are your votes saying? Are they saying comfort now, consequences later? Are they saying image first, freedom someday? Are they saying maybe next month? Are they saying when I earn more? Or are they saying structure first, strength later? Because later is built by what you repeat now. So here is what I want you to do after this script ends. First, calculate your survival number. Not tomorrow, today. Second, open or designate the accounts that separate survival, stability, and ownership so your money stops living in one messy pile. Third, automate one transfer to stability and one transfer to ownership immediately, even if the numbers are smaller than you hoped. Fourth, write your discretionary ceiling for the month. Fifth, choose the purchase threshold that triggers a 72-hour wait rule. Sixth, if you have high-interest debt, write the exact attack order and stop pretending confusion is the issue. Seventh, decide right now that every future raise will have a percentage automatically redirected to ownership before lifestyle gets the chance to eat it. Do those 7 things and your financial life changes direction. Maybe not overnight, but decisively. And direction matters more than mood. One last thing. Stop saying you are bad with money as if it is a personality type carved into stone. That sentence is a trap. Maybe you were untrained. Maybe you were modeled chaos. Maybe you inherited bad habits. Maybe you learned consumption before command. Maybe nobody ever taught you systems. Fine. That explains your past. It does not have to dictate your future. From this point on, the issue is not whether you were taught well. The issue is whether you are willing to build what was missing, because nobody is coming to rescue your money. Nobody is coming to assign your dollars for you. Nobody is coming to save you from drift while you keep your habits untouched. At some point, adulthood becomes financial authorship. You write the orders, you decide the missions, you build the structure, you protect the future. You stop living like money is something that merely happens to you. That is the whole point of this. You are not trying to look rich. You are trying to become unfragile. You are not trying to impress people who are also anxious. You are trying to build a life that can absorb pressure without collapsing. You are not trying to win 1 month. You are trying to build a machine that keeps working after motivation fades. That machine is your system. And if your money has no orders, give it orders. If your money is drifting, stop the drift. If your future is being rented out to payments, buy it back. If your income keeps arriving and disappearing, interrupt the pattern. No more confusion, no more vague intentions, no more hoping the next paycheck will somehow behave differently without a different structure. Your paycheck is not the problem. Your missing command structure is the problem. Fix that, and you stop living in reaction. Fix that, and every future dollar becomes more useful. Fix that, and progress stops depending on luck. Fix that, and you begin the long, quiet, powerful process of turning earned income into lasting strength. That is how people stop being financially fragile. That is how they stop panicking. That is how they stop performing wealth and start building it. That is how they reclaim the future, one automated decision at a time. Now choose. You can leave this as another script you listened to, nodded at, and forgot by tomorrow. Or you can treat this as the moment your money finally received orders. One choice gives you temporary inspiration. The other gives you a different life. Choose carefully, because your future is already being built by whatever you repeat next.